She's had experience in this area for over 30 years, and she personally cared for many devotees at the end of their lives, including Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj in 2005. With a commitment to compassionate care, she has traveled globally throughout the world to deliver in-depth seminars. And this seminar is, we're going to plug it in at the end of the presentation. Training sessions and establishing local VCare teams to support individuals facing acute, chronic, or terminal illness within their communities. Sangita Mataji also worked with His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj for over a decade to design, build, and establish the Bhaktivedanta Hospice in Vrindavan, which is now in Bhaktivedanta Hospital.
And Taravali, could you just, from your heart, say a couple of words about Sangita Mataji, what she means to you for like 30 seconds or less before we hand over to her?
Sangita Mataji is just like my mother. She's been my mentor for many years. Because of her, I've gotten into the nursing myself.
Hospice nursing.
Hospice nursing, and she's my inspiration. And she's everything, so my guide and my inspiration. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And we cannot wait to hear from such a resourceful and knowledgeable, experienced Mataji. Thank you.
Sangita Mataji, just a small, gentle reminder for the sake of the blood pressure of our interpreters, if you could kindly, when you're speaking, just keep in mind that they're going to be interpreting as you speak. So it might require little pauses here and there. Not long ones, but little pauses, if you don't mind, before I hand over to you.
Got it.
Okay, it's all up to you now, Sangita Mataji. We are in your hands.
Okay, so we're on the next slide. Okay, so Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I think we're up to 117 devotees right now. Thank you so much. So to begin, what's the difference between bereavement, grief, and mourning? I think we have to know some basics before we get into what to say, what not to say. Okay, so bereavement is the condition of having lost a loved one to death. Okay, it's you hear the news, you find out, maybe you took care of that loved one or friend or fellow devotee in your congregation, and now you've heard that the devotee has, or that relative, co-worker, neighbor, somebody that means something to you has passed away, okay, has died. That's the state of bereavement. All right. And then the difference between that and grieving or grief is the grief is related to actually it's a deep sorrow. Okay, you're grieving for somebody. It's usually caused by a death of someone very dear to you. So you learn about it. That's the bereaved stage. Then you grieve about the loss. Okay, and everybody grieves differently. It's related to your personality. Okay, not everybody grieves the same. Your personality affects how you grieve. Maybe you're very stoic and you don't show your emotions openly. That could affect how you grieve somebody's death. Also, how you a pattern of how you have been affected by shocking news in the past. Okay, maybe you've been maybe you've had a lot of shocking news in your life. Maybe you've had siblings who died in car accidents or parents who have already passed away. Lots of friends who have died. Maybe you've been subjected to this your entire life, so you deal better with grief, with sad news. Or maybe you've never been subjected to this kind of situation, so you're going to grieve very heavily because you haven't had this situation before. There's also family patterns to grieving. What you saw as a child when your parents were grieving, that will affect how you grieve as an adult. And even devotees are affected like this. Just because we're devotees doesn't mean we're not affected by our childhood memories. Okay. So some possible symptoms of grief, and not everybody goes through this, but these are some possible symptoms. You may have insomnia, just an inability to fall asleep, or you just kind of toss and turn all night, or you fall asleep and then you wake up during the night and you can't get back to sleep. Or you could be sleeping too much. You're grieving so much, you're so sad, you're feeling a little depressed or a lot depressed. You just can't get to sleep. Physical and mental exhaustion is another symptom of grief. Eating too much or not eating enough. That can be another symptom. Getting headaches a lot, whether you suffer from headaches or migraines in the past, all of a sudden now you could be getting a lot of headaches. Crying, continued sadness, weeks, months, even years, you could grieve. Okay. You do grieve for years. You could grieve for somebody the rest of your life. It's just that it doesn't have the same intensity your entire life. The grief intensity will lessen as the years go on, but you will miss that person for the rest of your life. That's a fact. Okay. And wanting isolation or needing to be with others. Even if you don't feel like talking, you might want devotees to come and visit, but let them talk to one another and you just be there. Okay. Or you could desire to be alone, isolated. Um, and then also flu-like aches and pains when you're grieving. You could just always feel like you're getting a flu or you have a cold or, just different aches and pains. Also dizziness, like vertigo or shortness of breath. Also chest pain. You could feel like you're having a heart attack. Okay, that's how severe these physical symptoms can be when you're grieving. And then there's lots more, so much more. But I always suggest to devotees when they've had a very deep loss, they go to the doctor. Go have a baseline checkup and let your doctor or healthcare practitioner check you out, get a baseline, how you're doing now, right after the loss, right after someone's death. And then the doctor can see where your blood pressure's at now, where your other vital signs are now, and then check it some months later. Okay. And then mourning. What's the difference between bereavement, grief, and mourning? Well, mourning is the actual physical signs, the outer response to a major life event that caused grief. So it's especially pertaining to death here. Okay. So how do you show your grief? You have a funeral, or the devotees usually call it a memorial service. Okay, there's a cremation, which you can see here in the picture. This looks like Keishi got. Or we have it in the West at a place that does a crematorium. And then we might have Prabhupada in my book, The Final Journey. Prabhupada wrote a letter to the devotees in France after a godbrother of mine died in a car accident, and he told us how to do a memorial service. Okay, so you can get that information there. There's also an ash immersion ceremony at the back of the book. My godbrother Dinabandhu Prabhu tells how to do it in Vrindavan in the Jamuna, and then Jananivas Prabhu tells how he does it in the Ganges. So those are examples of mourning. Those are external responses to your grief. You might want to have an ash immersion ceremony where the person is cremated in the West, and then somebody or you, if you can, go to India. Within a year, it's suggested that those ashes are placed in the sacred river, which your river of choice, either the Ganges, the Saraswati, the Jamuna. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, Taravali, I think you were going to read this beautiful. This Anne Lamott is a really famous author, and she wrote this about what it's like to grieve. And I wanted to share this with you.
Yes. You will lose someone you cannot live without, and your heart will be badly broken. And the bad news is that you never completely get over the loss of your beloved. But this is also the good news. They live forever in your broken heart that doesn't seal back up, and you come through. It's like having a broken leg that never heals perfectly, that still hurts when the weather gets cold, but you learn to dance with the limp.
Yeah. It's actually pretty profound, you know. It's like you're going to grieve for the rest of your life, probably, but not to the same intensity as when you first received the news. Okay, it will get better, I promise. It will get easier, but you will grieve probably for the rest of your life because you love that person. To the degree that you love somebody, that's to the degree you grieve. Okay. That's to the degree you grieve. So and we'll talk about other types of grief. It's not always done for somebody that you love. It could be somebody that was abusive to you. But right now we're talking about how we loved somebody, and to that degree, we hurt when they die. It's a fact, you know. And I've been there with so many devotees, okay? And we're just people. We are just human, okay? And we love just like anybody else. So when we lose a loved one, we grieve because our love was real. It touched us. And then when they die, that touches us. Okay. Next, please. So there are many forms of loss besides death, and I talk about this in greater length at my 2-day seminars. It would be really good if we got to know each other in our congregations so that we can be aware when a devotee is suffering one of these forms of loss. Okay, if you know that a devotee in your um, in your community is just lost their job, for example, and they lost their house because of it, and they're homeless. They don't know where they're going to live. Let's not turn the other way, okay? Please don't turn the other way. Let's care for these devotees. Let's approach them and say, I heard this happened. What can we do to help you? What can we do? Just because it's not a death doesn't mean it's not a loss. Okay. It can be as great a loss as somebody dying in their family. Okay. Maybe the husband, the father, is having memory loss and was diagnosed with dementia. We're having a lot of that in our movement now. Okay, my generation of devotees are getting dementia, Alzheimer's, different forms of dementia. So that's a great loss, not just to the person, but and the disciples even, but to the movement in general. We're losing um, a lot of wonderful leaders because of dementia. So these are things we have to look around our congregation, wherever you live, in whatever temple, and understand that this is going to happen, especially to my generation of devotees. That's a big loss. And so children moving away, maybe they're getting married or they're just moving away because that's the natural process of things. They grow up and they want to go away, you know, be independent. Maybe they're getting married and they're moving away. That's a loss for the parents. When my older daughter went away for her undergrad to go to college and move into the dorm, I slept in her bed for 3 weeks because I missed her so much. I felt, I felt separation. So, you know, these are losses you need to be aware of in your community and approach these devotees. Okay. Next one. Next, thank you. This is this is a psychologist, a grief counselor, a wonderful author who I studied a lot when I went back to school during the pandemic to become a certified grief counselor. He's wonderful, Dr. Wolfelt. Tons of books, wonderful speaker, wonderful writer who really understands grief. And he says, for every attachment, there is a loss on the horizon. This reminded me of a Krishna conscious statement. Okay. For every attachment in this world, there's a loss in the distance on the horizon. Okay. Because we're attached, we're going to lose that person or lose that thing eventually. And it's going to be a grieving experience. Right? So I really like him. I really like Dr. Wolfelt. And he says, loss is an unavoidable, uncontrollable part of life. We should expect it. We should express our grief openly and honestly for as long as it takes, thereby softening our grief and integrating the new loss into the ongoing story of our life. It's very important that we find someone that we can trust and reveal our feelings of loss and grief. It's really important, and we'll talk about why. Next slide, please. Thank you. So why does the bereaved need to tell their story? Why, when you're grieving? And Maya Angelou, she says, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. When we're grieving, it is such an agonizing story that we're holding within. And the more we reveal it to those who want to hear it, the more the layers of hurt and loss peel away. Okay? They peel off. And that's what we need to do by telling our story to somebody else. It's very important. Okay? Makes sense? Next one, please. Thank you. Okay, so at a loss for words. Now we're going to talk about oops moments. When you trip over your foot and you're like, oh, why did I say that? Or maybe you wouldn't even catch yourself sometimes. So for Vaishnavas experiencing grief, support from fellow devotees can be very important. I can tell you from my own experience, it can be very difficult to find because not every devotee is equipped to help you in your grief. Not everyone has learned about it. Not everybody wants to know about it. Not everybody wants to help you with it. It's not their service. I'm not trying to find fault with anybody. It's just that it's not for everybody. Just like I can't do book distribution, no matter how much they sent me out on the streets of Los Angeles when I was 17. I couldn't do it no matter what. I could not distribute books. Till this day, I cannot distribute books. I wish I could. I've prayed to Prabhupada, please give me the words to distribute your books. It's not my service, but this is my service, taking care of dying devotees and then helping the ones that are left behind to grieve. So can we do the next one, please? So what we should say to a grieving devotee, what we should say. Next. These are
Sorry, Mataji, what we should not say.
Oh, I'm sorry, what we should not say, you're right. we should not say. Okay, this is what we shouldn't say. I know exactly how you feel, Prabhu. Oops. Okay. Even if you lost your mother died, and her mother died, you still don't know exactly how she feels, because you had your own relationship with your mother, and she had her own relationship with her mother. So saying that is not going to take her pain away. Okay? So you don't know exactly how she feels. You can say something like, I'm so sorry for your loss. My mother passed away, and I remember how painful it was, and I still miss her. So I'm so sorry for your loss. I'd like to come over one day and help you and sit with you, and you can talk to me if you would like. And then we'll get into that more. So next one. Just have faith, everything will work out. What do you think? Okay, devotees have faith. Does everything always work out? Not the way we want. Okay, it doesn't always work out the way we want. Krishna has his plan. Okay, Krishna has his plan, and it doesn't always work out according to our plan. True? So if you say just have faith, everything will work out, first of all, it's a little demeaning. You're implying that they don't have faith in God or Krishna. Okay, so it's a little demeaning, and everything will work out. Will work out according to who? If somebody's husband just died, or the whole family was in a car accident and they all died, so she lost her husband and her children, it happens. So how will that work out? That's a tough one. And saying just have faith, it's a little demeaning. Okay, next one. At least you. So if you start a sentence with at least you, it's minimizing what they just lost, right? So if somebody had 5 children and one of their teenagers was in a car accident with their friends and died, at least you have 4 other children. Well, at least you have one other arm. You might have had this one amputated, but at least you have one other arm. What does that do? It's like you shouldn't grieve for that 5th child because you have 4 more. It's just chopping off what they're grieving for. It's like there's no need to grieve. At least you have 4 more. Not good. Next one, please. Krishna has a plan. Well, we know he has a plan. We just covered that. We know he has a plan. It might not be our plan, but he has a plan. We know that. We have to try not to be preachy to the grieving. Okay, especially devotees know all this. Devotees know Krishna has a plan, but unfortunately the plan wasn't their plan. So they're grieving. They just lost a loved one, a friend. Very difficult. Okay, next one. They're in a better place. Yeah, that's true. They most likely are, if they were following and they're chanting and they're very loyal, faithful devotees, but they're not here. They're not here with you. And that's where the pain comes in. In time, this might comfort somebody. In time. but right away, right after the death, this isn't going to do much for somebody who's in separation from their loved one or friend. Okay, next one, please. Okay, what we should not say to somebody, to a grieving devotee. At least you had them for as long as you did. If your wife dies, okay, your wife dies, and you were married for 10 years, well, at least you had her for as long as you did. It's of little consolation. Next one. Krishna never gives you more than you can handle. My mother wasn't a devotee, and she used to say this all the time when I was a child. God never gives you more than you can handle. Well, sometimes it seems like he does. So saying it isn't much, it's not much comfort sometimes. Next, please. Next one, please. This will make you a better person in the end. Oh my goodness, it will. Because right now I feel like killing myself. My child died drowning in the lake behind our house. And this is going to make me a better person. How is that even possible? Okay, next one. You won't always feel this bad. I hope not, because right now I would love to kill myself. You know, so these are just kind of pat remarks, you know. You're hugging. Oh, I know you won't always feel this bad. Right now, I feel like I will never feel better. Next one. This is all part of the bigger plan. Here we go with that word plan. Okay. Krishna has a plan. This is a better plan. This is a part of a bigger plan. We don't know this. Okay. We don't know Krishna's plan. So I tend to leave that word out, you know, because I don't know the plan. Next one, please. Everything happens for a reason. Yeah, we know that. We know about karma. We know about reincarnation. We know there's a reason for everything. We just don't know it right now. So saying that is of little comfort most of the time. Okay, next one. Maybe you should have listened to your intuition that day. Okay, this is a good one. I mean, a bad one. But this is an example of what people say sometimes. Like, I knew I shouldn't have driven the kids to the park that day. I knew it that morning, and then we were hit by a drunk driver. I knew it. I felt it in my gut not to take them to the park that day. And then we were hit by a drunk driver, and my son was killed instantly. Maybe you should have listened to your intuition that day. You think that's going to do much? No. It's going to put so much guilt on that mother that you're just pounding her into the ground more and more and more. Of course she thinks that already. You don't need to remind her of that. She'll be regretting that day for the rest of her life. Okay, are there any more? I bet you won't discount your inner voice next time. Oh, I don't know which one's worse, the one before it or this one. You won't discount your inner voice next time, Krishna. Okay, is that it? Everyone dies eventually. Oh my goodness. Not very compassionate Where's the empathy? You're not your body, Prabhu. Believe it or not, devotees still say that to somebody. Why are you crying for your mother? She was never her body. I heard that not too long ago. Okay. No more? Okay. All right. So we don't need to fix the bereaved. We need to companion the bereaved. This is, if you take nothing with you today except for this concept, I would be so happy. Okay. There's a book that's a best-selling book called It's Okay That You're Not Okay. If you can order it from Amazon.com, it would probably be the best investment you'd ever make. Okay. It's not expensive. It comes in paperback and it's written by Megan Devine. She is a counselor, grief counselor. She is a wonderful writer, and she watched her fiance drown in a river and die. And do you know that she was criticized for not jumping in that very rapid river and saving him? So people will, no matter who you are, no matter how famous you are, no matter how talented you are, people will criticize you no matter what. So she had to deal with all that. And now she has helped tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who are grieving in this world. And she's wonderful. So I would really recommend this book. What she believes is we are not there to fix the grieving. We're there to be their companion. And I'll get more into that in the next slide. Okay. Here's another one, Dr. Wolfelt, who I introduced to you before. Um, he is a PhD, an author, an educator. I would love to go visit his courses. He has them out in Scottsdale, Arizona, as well as his place in Colorado. He is also a big advocate for companioning the bereaved. This is in a wonderful paperback book you can get on Amazon.com as well. Grief should no longer be defined, diagnosed, and treated as an illness. He has changed the face of grief counseling. You are not there to counsel them, you're there to be their buddy, let's say. You're there to be their companion, okay? They are, you're not there to treat them as if they have a disease. They're feeling grief, they're feeling sorrow, they're sad, they could be depressed, they've lost a loved one and they need help, but they don't need you to fix them. They need you to be their companion, walk along with them side by side, not you leading them and them following you. Okay, that's his philosophy of being a grief counselor, is that you companion them. Okay, you're not there to teach them, you're there to walk next to them and listen. We're there to listen to them. Okay, next one. So companioning the bereaved, what does this entail? Companioning is walking alongside. It is not about leading. We're going to go across, okay? It is being present to another person's pain. It is not about taking away the pain. We can't take it away. We're not Krishna, okay? But we can be there with them to hear their pain. It is about honoring the spirit. It's not about focusing on the intellect. He goes deep, believe me. He goes very, very deep. Second one on the left. It's about going to the wilderness of the soul with another human being. I love that line. It's about going to the wilderness of the soul with another human being. It's not about thinking you are responsible for finding the way out. It's like you're in the woods with somebody who's grieving and can't find their way out. And it's not our job as a companion to help them to find the way out. We're just there to be their friend. We're there to companion them through their journey, their grief journey through the woods of sorrow, because that's really what it is. They're just feeling so much grief and pain. And as long as we're there to listen, it's okay. We don't have to fix them. It is listening with the heart. It is not about analyzing with the head. Oh, please take this one with you, okay? It is listening with the heart and not about analyzing with the head. It is about bearing witness to the struggles of others. It is not about judging or directing their struggles. Okay, we're just there to witness. It is discovering the gifts of sacred silence, which we'll discuss soon. It is not about filling up every moment with words. Do you ever notice in our society when two people are talking, one is talking and the other one is, uh-huh, mm-hmm, okay, mm-hmm. And there's constantly talking, constant. Okay, in my weekend seminar, I discuss how you can have sacred silence. Okay, you don't have to be talking all the time. You can listen. We can give them a safe space so they can talk and you hear. You just listen. Okay. If your desire is to support a fellow human in grief, you must create a safe space for people to embrace their feelings of profound loss. It is the compassionate, open heart that allows you to be truly present to another human being's intimate pain. Okay? It's very important that you get this one. Okay? If you want to support anyone who's grieving a tremendous loss in life, we have to give them that safe space. Okay, so they can feel that they go so deep inside where Krishna and Guru and Prabhupada reside in the heart. Okay, next one, please. So we want to give them hope, okay? What better gift can we give the grieving and the suffering person than to give them hope? So Elizabeth Gilbert wrote this: deep grief sometimes is like a specific location, almost like a coordinate on a map of time. When you are standing in that forest of sorrow, you cannot imagine that you could ever find your way to a better place. But if someone can assure you that they themselves have stood in that same place and now have moved forward, sometimes this will bring hope. So if I say to you, I also lost that person in my life, and I'm here to tell you that you can make it. It's painful. You have to go through so much grief in order to come out on the other side. But I'm here to listen. I'm here for you. Okay, I'm here for you. And I can tell you that you will make it. You will make it. It seems like you won't right now, but I promise you that you will, because I made it and I've seen other devotees make it. So we'll help you through this, no matter how long it takes, because we're not there to judge them on their timeline of grief. We're not, no matter how many years it takes, we're there for them. Okay, next one. So what we should say to a grieving devotees, these are just some suggestions. So what we should say: I am so very sorry for your loss. Believe me, if you don't know what to say to somebody who's grieving, just tell them that. I am so very sorry for your loss. I really don't know what to say, but please know that I'm here for you. That's totally appropriate. Just say that. I don't know what to say, but I'm here for you. I care about you. Just give them that message and you'll be fine. Next one. Please know that you and your family are in my thoughts and prayers. Perfectly fine. And I have to say, texting your condolences, pushing like on their Facebook page when somebody else has posted their condolences, to me, it seems very impersonal. Okay, I know it's what people do nowadays, but I would much rather get a phone call. I would much rather get a little note in snail mail. Okay, I open my mailbox and there's a little note or card, something, something personal. Come and visit me, come and visit. That's what my parents' generation used to do. It was very nice. They would bring food. That's what most people do in other religions. And in devotee world, we bring prasadam so that the mourning family, the grieving family, they don't have to cook for themselves. And you say, please know that you and your family are in my thoughts and prayers. I brought over some lasagna, some sabji. Okay, next one. I really don't know what to say, but please know that I am here for you. Okay. If you don't know what to say, be honest. That's what I just told you. Just be honest. Okay. I've been doing this for 30 years, and sometimes I'm at a loss. It's okay. Just be honest. Next. I don't know what to say, but I'm a good listener. When is a good time? When is a good day and time to call you or for me to visit you? Okay. I'm a good listener. I'm not a counselor, I'm not this, I'm not that, but I care and I can listen. What would be a good time and day that I can visit? Okay, because remember, after the funeral, after the memorial service, that person goes home to an empty house, most likely, or a very quiet house. So that's when they need visitors. They say actually about 6 weeks after the death, everything gets quiet in the house. Everybody goes on with their own life, even the adult children, most likely. They go home to their house, they go back to college, whatever, and the spouse that's left is just kind of walking around their empty house. So about 6 weeks or so after the death, after the funeral, the memorial service, that's when the spouse that's left alone really needs visitors, really needs phone calls. Okay. All right, next. Can I call or drop by once a week to see if you need anything? Which day would be good for you, morning or afternoon? So you set a definite time so that you're there. Don't just say, I'll come by, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Next. There's no right or wrong way to feel right now. Please tell me how you are feeling today. If you just say to the grieving person, especially right at the beginning, how are you doing? Well, what do you mean, how am I doing? My husband just died. My son just died. My daughter's dead. How are you feeling today? Because they're going to be taking it not just day by day, they're going to be taking it minute by minute at first. Okay. So you want to say, please tell me how you are feeling today. Okay. Next one, please. So would this be a good thing to say? I was so sad to learn of your loss. Good one. Please don't hesitate to call or text me if you need anything, anytime. Okay, I'm here for you. Probably most of you are thinking that's a good thing to say. Why isn't it not a good thing to say? Okay, it's partly a good thing to say. What's being left out here? Okay, if you need anything, anytime, any day, just text me or call me. I'm here for you. What's being left out is, I'm here for you. What is a good day for you? Is Wednesday a good day? That's a good day for me. Okay, why don't we get together and come up with a call date? Okay, every Wednesday, what's a good time? Oh, 10 a.m. That's good for me too. Why don't I call you every Wednesday at 10 a.m.? And if you're not into talking, just let me know. Don't answer the phone, whatever. I'll get the hint. Okay, I'll get it. But let's do that, where every Wednesday I'll call you 10 in the morning and we'll talk, or we'll get together that day, whatever you want to do. That would be a better way to do it. If you leave it open-ended like this, you'll never hear from that person. I can almost guarantee you, she or he will never call you. It's too open-ended. Oh yeah, I'll call, I'll text. Won't happen. It won't happen. You have to be specific, okay? Okay, next one. Thank you. Comforting things to say and do. Okay, we're going to run by this quickly. Tell the bereaved a nice memory you have of the devotee. Say their name. Some people think if you say their name, let's say his name is, Prabhu Das, okay? And you never want to mention Prabhu Das's name because you think it's going to upset his widow. It will make her feel so much better if she hears Prabhu's name. Okay, it brings him alive. All right, say the name and bring up nice memories. Next. If you didn't know personally that person who died, if you didn't know Prabhu Das, ask someone who did know him or her to tell a sweet memory and make a video of it on the phone, on your phone, and then forward that video to the person who's grieving. Okay, it'll really mean a lot. It really would. Okay, so if you didn't know that person, you didn't know Prabhu Das, you know somebody who did, film them on your phone saying a nice memory, and then forward it to the family who are grieving. Okay, send a card with a handwritten note of care via the post office. Like I said, it can include a photo of the temple deities, maybe Prabhu Das's favorite deities. Okay. Call to ask if any errands need to be done, like take the children out for a few hours. Even the children, young children, teenagers, they need to get out of the grieving house once in a while. They're grieving also in their own way, but they don't talk about it the way adults talk about it, and that's a whole other webinar. But I discuss it in our weekend seminar, but children do grieve, even infants grieve. So you want to ask, can I take the kids out? Do you need anything at the grocery store? Any laundry that needs to be done? Can I do some light housekeeping? I can change the linens on the beds, go to the park and we can talk. I'll just listen, and you can bring them prasadam from the temple or make them a pot of dal and rice, whatever. You don't have to, cook huge meals for the entire family every day. Just once in a while, deliver some prasadam from the temple, or, people, devotees can share cooking. Ask if the grieving person needs a ride to the temple, to the Sunday feast, or needs a ride anywhere, just just care. Ask them on the phone, what do you need done? What can I do for you? Okay. Next. Okay, here's another suggestion of something you can do. Just use your imagination on, what would I want? What would make me feel better right now? So write this poem. on a nice card as a gift to a devotee who is mourning, or print on a nice paper and frame it as a gift. So right here on the right where the rose is, for as long as I live, I will keep handing the world memories of you, like handing it a rose when it starts to forget the color red. I just thought that was so beautiful. She, Sarah Ryan, she writes a lot of poems about grief. And this one is really, really nice. So I'll keep handing the world memories of you, like handing it a rose when it starts to forget the color red. Because the more you speak about your loved one who passed away, the more that person is still here. And it's everybody deserves a legacy, everybody. And every devotee, especially because they've made such a difference in this world, deserves a legacy, even if it means that he made the best blueberry halava in the movement. Okay, I actually know a devotee that made the best blueberry halava. Okay, and one of my godbrothers, and that could be a legacy. Wow, he made the best blueberry halava. Prabhupada loved his blueberry halava. Okay, let that be his legacy. Before he dies, if he was terminally ill and it took him some months before he left his body, make a video of him describing how to make the best blueberry halava on the planet. Okay, and then put it out on Facebook and or play it at his memorial service. Let that be his legacy. Everybody deserves to have a legacy after they're gone. Okay. Next one. Okay, so we're about 5 minutes after, but this Dr. Wolfelt, who I mentioned, he says, I never learned anything talking. I only learn things when I ask questions. So I just want to say there's open-ended questions, there's closed-ended questions. It's okay to ask the grieving person questions. Open-ended questions are like, okay, they can't be answered with a yes or no reply. So you want more of a detailed answer. Closed-ended would be, how long were you and your husband married? 40 years. That's a closed-ended question. The open-ended question, they're broad in nature. They encourage a deeper reply. You want the grieving person to go very deep inside when they reply. Okay, so can you tell me something about your 40-year marriage? If you had to describe it in one sentence, what would that sentence be? That's open-ended. Okay, it's not a yes or no question. It involves deep understanding to reply. Okay, next one, please. At times, closed-ended questions can be helpful. They do have their place, like, how long were you married? You need to know that to deal with the grief. Okay, next, please. There's something called therapeutic silence. I talk about this at the grief seminar. There's my husband. He's a perfect example of therapeutic silence. He grew up one of 9 children in a big Catholic family. He was the oldest boy. He had a lot of responsibility, and he learned how to be quiet because either you yelled louder than the 9 kids or to be heard, or you just were quiet to get beyond all the yelling in the house. Okay, so therapeutic silence means to be present with a grieving person. This also applies to a dying person as well. But now we're talking about grieving. So you want to be present with a grieving person who may want and need your quiet presence without either of you speaking. Have you ever been grieving about someone or just in a sad situation and you don't want to talk, but you wouldn't mind if somebody was there with you? You just would want him not to talk either, him or her. Okay, so there's times when being present but silent is appropriate too. Remember, you're not there to fix anybody. You're there to just be present and be a companion to the grieving. So your role is to be present without being uncomfortable with the silence. That's therapeutic silence. Next one, please. Mother Teresa, who is my hospice nurse hero, said, "We need silence to be able to touch souls." Okay. Silence can be very, very healing. And meaningful silence is always better than meaningless words. Remember two people talking? Uh-huh, uh-huh, right? Okay. So Prabhupada never said one word that wasn't meaningful. He's a perfect example. All right. Next, please. These are grief triggers. I wanted to mention this quickly because triggers can occur many years or even decades after your special person died. Okay. So you could be walking through the mall and all of a sudden some woman walks by you that has the same scent on, the same oil or cologne that your wife wore. And your wife died 30 years ago. And all of a sudden that whiff of her perfume brings back her memory. And tears start to come down. And this happens 30 years later after she died. It's called a grief trigger. It triggers memories of your loved one or friend or somebody that you miss many years later. Okay, that's a trigger. And grief is very sneaky. A sound, a scent, a song, or a smile becomes tears. It happens. So anything that causes you to revert into your grief without warning is a trigger. Sudden and intense feelings of distress, pain, and sorrow is a trigger. Milestone dates like birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays, expecting Christmas around the corner. Okay, that's hard for people who are grieving, even years later. Smelling a scent, like I just said, or hearing a favorite song that reminds you of your loved one can trigger sudden feelings of grief, even years later. Visiting a place that reminds you of a time when you were there with your special person, that can definitely be a trigger. Seeing old friends or relatives who remind you of your loved one who died. Okay. So triggers can be very intense. Expect them. Don't be surprised when they happen decades later. And just understand that they're happening. This will happen and get through it at that moment, and you'll be okay. Milestone dates like birthdays and holidays, you can be prepared for them. Okay. Each year will get easier, promise. Okay, next one. Uh-oh. Next one. Okay. So, I heard Srila Prabhupada say this in, it's not here all the way, Kevala. Kevala. Oh, there we go. I heard Srila Prabhupada say this, I believe it was 1973 in the Los Angeles temple, 73, 74. I know some of you are on from those days and you may remember this. I never wrote it down, it just kind of stayed with me. Srila Prabhupada said this in a Srimad Bhagavatam class. For a devotee, death is just like sleeping. He closes his eyes, and when he opens them, there is Krishna. It is so nice. And that's how he said it too. He opens his eyes really wide, and he said, he smiled, and he said, he closes his eyes, and when he opens them, and he went like this, he said, there is Krishna. It is so nice. So that's what we have to look forward to. Next one, please. And if this is a very good thing to say to a grieving devotee who lost a devotee relative or friend. So this is what I want to leave you with, this poem called Quietly. And this is what it's like to grieve. And yeah, quietly. I missed you quietly today, so quietly that no one noticed. I missed you as I climbed out of bed and as I brushed my teeth, when I waited at the lights on the drive into work, and as I heard the rain outside my window. I missed you as I ordered lunch and as I kicked off my shoes when I got home, as I switched off the lights and climbed into bed for the night. I missed you without tears or noise or fanfare, but oh, how I felt it. I felt it in the morning, at lunchtime, in the evening, and at night. I felt it as I woke, as I waited, as I worked. I felt it at home, on the road, in the light, in the dark, in the rain. I felt it in every one of those moments, each one sitting heavier and heavier as the weight of me missing you kept growing and growing. So this is what it feels like to grieve someone you love. Final thoughts. In conclusion, to walk with those who are grieving a loved one who died is a very special service. To walk with or companion a Vaishnava on his or her grief journey is a tremendous honor. It is a much needed seva in our Krishna consciousness movement. Next one, please. So, Keval, I think you're taking this.
Yeah, Taravali and I will jump in here, Mataji, if it's okay. This is a good chance for us to open up the chat box for questions and answers. And so as devotees type in their questions, we're going to probably not open up devotees to unmute and share their questions by audio. It's our first time around doing this. And because it's such a sensitive topic and we have limited time, we don't want any one question to kind of monopolize. So in the few minutes we have, we'll encourage devotees to type and we'll get to it right in. Meanwhile, you can just read on the slide some of the things that Vaishnavas C.A.R.E offers between the self-study course, the grief support group, the final journey book, and spiritual care kits. I'll actually plug those at the end. I think it's better we get to the questions if it's okay with you, Sangita Mataji. So,
I think there's some questions in different languages, so interpreters, please translate and let us know.
Of course, there's. Oh,
Runa Purnashak, she's writing who wrote the last poem. There wasn't an author to that. I wish there was. I'd like to give credit to whoever wrote that beautiful.
I'm going to wait for some of the, if they are questions in languages to be interpreted, but I see that Asta has asked, Hare Krishna, thank you so much. If there is guilt for not being there with your loved one before death, how can that be handled?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
If there is guilt for not being present for your loved one before their death, how can that be handled?
You know what? After taking care of dying devotees for 30-something years, I realized a long time ago, Krishna's in charge of who of who gets to be there at the time of death. And no matter what we do and how hard we try, or we just don't go there at the time when the person leaves, it's really not up to us. It's really up to Krishna. You know, I could sit and tell you so many situations that happened where a devotee wanted to be there so badly, but we don't have the time for that. But maybe another webinar we can do that. There's so much involved, and I really, really, really know that Krishna's in charge of who gets to be there at that moment. So the guilt, I have a god sister who taught me many years ago, guilt is a waste of emotion, and it really is.
Mother,
So
oh, sorry.
no guilt, no guilt. Krishna's in charge of who gets to be there.
Mother Sangita, I'll just jump in and ask our interpreters to just watch for some of these questions in other languages. I think we see a couple that could be interpreted. Prishtish Prabhu has said, what should be the appropriate duration of being supportive of someone who is grieving?
Okay, for as long as they grieve, if we see that it's becoming prolonged grief, meaning very, very intense grief that should be kind of quieting down after some time, you can suggest that they have one-on-one counseling with a grief counselor or therapist. Because if it's so intense after such a long time, then I really think that maybe therapy might be called for. It's okay to grieve for a lifetime, and that's what happens. But the intensity of that grief should diminish as time goes on. For as long as you love that person, you will grieve and miss that person. That's fine. But the intensity of that loss should diminish over the years. And missing that person won't diminish, but the intensity of it should go down. And if it does, then suggest that they have one-on-one counseling. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
You could just type in your reply. Hopefully that answered. We'll just move to the next question, but we are getting some messages privately from devotees. Yes, this webinar is being recorded and it will be put up onto the Vaishnavas C.A.R.E YouTube channel. If you're part of the WhatsApp group, that'll be a great place to see some links and also the resources, which we'll talk about just in a moment after maybe the next question or two. There's just one more question here from Jude, who says, would I be on the right track by considering that the offering of hope for the future could be offered in a time-sensitive manner? And then she elaborates, I can imagine that intense or acute grief would impact an individual's capacity for hope.
I don't know if I'm so deaf. I don't know if I heard the whole thing. Can you?
No problem, I can try that again. And if it doesn't work this time, we'll move to the next question, and maybe Mataji or Jude Mataji could just rephrase her question, but I'll try one more time. She asks, would I be on the right track by considering that the offering of hope for the future, so offering someone the hope of the future, that could be offered in a time-sensitive manner? And she's adding a little comment that she thinks that intense or acute grief would impact an individual's ability or capacity to have hope.
So yeah, we want to give hope. We talked about that a little bit. And are you saying that what would be the problem in giving hope at a certain point? Or is that what you got? What is the main question about giving hope?
So then I'll tennis ball it back to Mataji. Jude, if you could just rephrase your question, and I'm just going to move because we have a bunch of questions here. I hope that's not rude. Taravali was going to just, she saw one Russian, so speaking Russian, what was it?
How are we supposed to react when the person, I guess the person who is grieving, who lost their loved one, is angry, but other people around him or her did not lose anyone.
Oh, sorry.
and the person is angry on, like they kind of project that anger on others.
Yeah. And it will.
Mhm.
Yeah.
From
So
our-
Oh,
how do we,
and they're doing, and they are projecting this anger as if to do it to make us feel guilty, kind of like to cause kind of guilt in us.
and we know this, we know that's why they're being angry, is to make everybody around them feel guilty.
This
How
was,
do-
Virgil, are you able to translate that too in Russian?
Well, can I just say that
Yeah.
going to deal with angry people, even devotees, when they're grieving, anger is a part of grieving. Okay. And it's for many reasons. People get angry because they're angry at the situation. They're angry that their loved one died. They're angry at Krishna because he took away that person that they love. They're angry, they get angry with God or Krishna. They get angry at the situation. They get angry because now they have to, do everything by themselves, and they're not used to that because or the wife did it, or how do I cook? How do I raise the kids? How do I, they don't know what to do because role reversal is happening now. Okay. The wife takes on the husband's role and vice versa. So there's a lot of reasons to become angry. I don't know how one would know that it's to make everybody feel guilty, but maybe you know that person well enough. Um, I'm not doubting it. I mean, I had a mother like that. So, uh, sometimes we know the grieving person well enough to read what they're doing, their actions. Um, we have to learn a lot of tolerance to companion the grieving. Sometimes it gets very, very difficult. And then you need to know your boundaries. You have to know your boundaries. If they're being angry at you every time you call or visit, take a break. Take a break and tell them why you're really angry. I understand that. You have a lot of reasons to be angry, but I didn't do anything to cause your anger. So I'm thinking maybe I'll take a week off. I've done this before. I've done this. And I'll take a few days or so to take a break, and then I'll come back and visit you because I really do care about you. But your anger is being misdirected.
We started at 10:05 local time, Eastern time zone. So I'm gonna just ask devotees if they don't mind. I know we have only 4 minutes left, but maybe we can go 5 minutes over time. And even that won't do justice to some of the great questions that are coming in. They're really, this is touching a nerve, the topic you're speaking of, Mataji. So I'll try to squeeze in one more question. Now I might have to, for brevity, shorten this, but one of the translated questions that has come in has to do with sometimes you may hear from senior devotees things like, you know, uh, that don't strike the right note when you're grieving, or you're trying to, offer support for someone who's grieving. How do we handle such situations?
Did they give an example?
Well, let me try to track that one down.
Please don't tell me it's you're not your body.
Could you offer a comment while I find it, Mataji, just about when you hear kind of the wrong thing, like, or when you encounter that, how to handle those situations?
Well, we don't want to be offensive. We don't want to be rude. We don't, it is a senior devotee. And you're the one grieving and they say this thing too? Is that what she's saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's awkward because I'm also a senior devotee, and I would just say to that senior devotee, Prabhu, what you're saying isn't helping me at all. Okay, it would be more helpful if you had said, and I would just correct them because they have to learn this one way or the other. They're in a position of authority, just being a senior devotee, so they're going to have to learn how to speak to grieving devotees because their position is more like one of a priest or a minister, you know. So they're gonna have to learn it. So who teaches them? I would teach them. So I would say to them, look, I am grieving, and what you just said is very hurtful to me. I know I'm not my body, Prabhu. You don't have to remind me of that. I've known it for over 50 years, but this is what I would rather you say to me. Somebody has to teach them. But if you're not a senior, you're not a Prabhupada disciple, and you feel uncomfortable doing that, I would just say, okay, thank you, and walk away.
Yeah, thank you. I think I hope I captured that question right from Victoria Mataji, but that was, related unfortunately to what you just described, that, he is not this body, just an illusion, karma, etc. Do not lament. And
And
she's
I'm
indicated
sorry.
very
Yeah,
vulnerably that, she just finally cried for the first time 5 months later. So, yeah, thank you for that, answering that point.
yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't try to use this opportunity to do two things. Number one, we wanted devotees who are present, if possible, to put your cameras on, and Kandapika Mataji, who is one of the Vaishnavas C.A.R.E international team leaders, she oversees all of South American operations there. She will screenshot. So we were hoping that if you're comfortable and if you're not hanging upside down from the ceiling or something, that if you can maybe put your camera on and just give your best devotional, beautiful, effulgent smile. And we'd love to capture that and share with others and hopefully inspire
And it
more
will just take a
devotees.
couple of minutes, 1 minute, because there's lots of
There's a couple of
attendees.
screens we have to go through. Actually, we've been really pleased with the response. What to speak of those who couldn't join for some technical issues. But just give your camera a little smile.
I want to thank Kandarpika, our Director of Latin America teams, and she's in Mexico City. So I want to thank her for all of her participation in this event, getting our translators, and I want to thank you to Taravali, who's the president of Vaishnavas C.A.R.E. She's a hospice RN with 3 babies that she handles at the same time, juggling, and her husband, Keval, who's become our boss for Vaishnavas Care.
No,
He's,
just
he's,
serving.
he's an incredible resource. I don't know how we would do anything without him. And there's Yamuna. She's actually become the vice president of Vaishnavas Care.
Baby Yamuna.
Yeah,
I'm going to interrupt, if you don't mind, the flow of all the love going around. I'm hoping Kadarpika Mataji got some pictures of the screenshots there. This is a little handout. I printed this one out. It's a summary of some of the salient
Oh, she's
points.
asking to remove the
Not all.
presentation.
Oh, I got to stop the presentation.
Sorry.
Okay, so keep those cameras and that smiling happening. I'm going to just stop the share.
It's right here.
Yeah, 1
Stop the
second.
share.
And therefore now keep your smiles on if you don't mind while I speak. Just about this little handout. It's a little gimmicky, and forgive us, this is not to solicit money or anything else, but we just want to raise awareness. If devotees after
Raise
this
awareness
call,
about this important service.
of Vaishnavas Care, if devotees after this call can give a follow to us on Instagram, once Kandarpika finishes the screenshot, I'll put this back up on the screen. Give us a follow on Instagram, and if you comment Hare Krishna below the post which promotes this seminar, with the poster for the
The
seminar.
last poster.
Yeah, this last post. If you put Hare Krishna, then in your DM, you're going to get a link to download this handout, which summarizes, it's a little PDF handout that summarizes some of the points. And if you could be so kind as to give us a follow at that time, it'd be really great. We also have an online self-study course that consists of over 12 hours of Sangita Mataji's teaching on her course. Her course has been taught around the world, the art of caring for the Vaishnavas.
Yeah, and this course was recorded in Philadelphia. It
Yeah,
was the last in-person seminar that we did. It was professionally recorded and it's online.
it's on through Google Classroom. There's a cost for it, but you can look into that through our website.
Just a nominal fee to
Yeah.
cover the expenses, yeah.
And then also I wanted to mention Mother Sangita's book, which has been used as manuals. That's also available. It's been used as manuals in hospitals. It's been a great resource for countless devotees around the world. That's on the Vaishnavas Care website, available for sale. Shipping might be a challenge around the world, but we can work with you on that. And similarly, on the website, there are these really great spiritual care kits, which is everything you would need at the time of a devotee's passing. So it has inside little items. It has tilak, and it has, Lord Nishingadev's oil, and it has tulsi, and everything you could ask for. And that also is available to be sent. And then, let me just get
go
this
back
back here. Let's see if I can get that screen back on. Anyways, there it is. So give us a little follow on Instagram. If you're not on Instagram, just email us and we'll send you the PDF. No problem. We'll get it to you somehow, some way. Probably, did you want to say any final words for Sangita Mataji before we throw it to her to close?
Yes. I just want to first of all, thank everyone for joining us today, and we hope this is not the last time we see you. We are hoping, and by Krishna's mercy, to host this kind of webinars every 3 months or so on different topics. And so please stay tuned for that. And I just want to personally, of course, thank Sangita Mataji again for all her endless knowledge and experience, and I'm personally touched every time I speak to her and inspired, and I hope you felt the same way. So we're hoping to get more of that in the future.
We just launched a little poll. We'd like to do this webinar again. It was such a tremendous response. We'd like to really zone in on topics that touch on those sensitive points. So we've given 3 suggested topics. That's not to say this will be exactly how it's framed or worded, but please vote for what you would like to see. So how to communicate with a devotee who is dying, ideas how to honor the memory of departed Vaishnavas in your local community, and then caregiver burnout, which is something Mother Sangita teaches about a lot. It behooves me also, do you want to say thank yous to all the members who helped put this together? I know
Yes.
Sangita Mataji already did, but.
Yes, I would like to also thank our interpreters, Rajalalana Mataji, who has been kindly translating from Russian. And then we also have,
Kandarpika Mataji is
Kandarpika, of
overseeing
course,
it.
she's overseeing. And sorry, I don't know, I'm not the names. If Kritatma Mataji
Yeah.
has been translating
And,
to Spanish, I believe. And Anuradha as well, who's been translating to Portuguese. So thank you so much for all those devotees.
And lastly, it's on the screen. Hopefully you can see that, but there's also a grief support group on Facebook that you can join. And I mean, it's not open for public access, but that's where Mother Sangita also personally gets involved. And that's available both in English and Spanish. That is a very active grief support group for those who have suffered a loss or struggling with loss in any shape or form. Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually have links to all of this on our website. So maybe if we can share our website in the chat here in the Zoom, and then devotees can get more information on the website, whether it's to get a book or sign up for the course or get a link to the grief support group. And we're also going to share all of this information in our WhatsApp group. So please stay tuned. And if you haven't joined the WhatsApp group, please do. We'll share all the resources there.
And of course, if there's any issues that anybody had, we're sorry we couldn't get to all the questions. We might need to leave more time for questions in the future. But I've just shared our website, vaishnavas.C.A.R.E.org. Mother Sangita, final words from you before we close out, just a smidge over time.
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate your response to this, and we're hoping to do this every few months. So put in your vote for what you're interested in hearing, and we'll try to create a webinar to answer your questions and do a nice webinar for something you're interested in. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mother Sangita. Thank you, Taravali, as part of the Vaishnavas care team and everyone else. There were so many good questions that we didn't get to. We'll make a note of them. I don't think we can tax Sangita Mataji to go through each one and reply, but we've made a note of these questions and we'll do our best to be in touch with devotees. But
what if we have the book reading club for Final Journey every Sunday? What if the next one we do can answer these questions?
okay, so stay tuned.
Yeah,
Leave devotees with questions unanswered.
yeah. So we will make a note of the devotees who ask questions, so we'll try to get back to them with answers.
Your questions they're going to be logged in Zoom. So we will somehow find a way to loop around with you to get to your questions. And we hope this will be the first of many webinars you'll attend or take advantage of all of the resources that are offered by Vaishnavas Care.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Kevala and Taravali. Thank you. Thank you to the translator. Thank you to everyone who responded and showed up. We really appreciate your participation.
Hare Krishna.
thank you, Hare Krishna. I'll leave this screen up for just a few minutes as devotees exit, and you can make a note of the ways to get in touch. And please do share a little comment of saying Hare Krishna on the last post on Instagram to get that handout, or email us for it, or contact us.
Okay, and we will try to we'll pick a time so we can answer everybody's questions, okay?
Jai. Hare Krishna, glories to Prabhupada.
Bye, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Krishna Kirtana Ganana Tana Pano Premamritam Manidhi
Video's off.
Dhira Dhira Jana Priyau Priyakarau Nirmasaram Pujitau Sri Chaitanya Kripa Bharau Bhuvi Bhuva Bharavahantarakam Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujagam Sri Jiva Gopalakam Krishna Kirtana Ganana Tana Paro Premamritam Banidhi Dhira Dhira Jana Priyakarau Nirmasarau Pujitam Nana Shastra Vicharanai Kanipunam Sadharma Sanghastapakam Lokanam Hitakarinam Tribhuvane Mannam Saranyakanam Nana Shastra Vicharanai Kanipunam Sadharma Samastapakam Lokanam Hitakarinam Tribhumane Mannam Saranakaram Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajananandena Matvalikam Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujagam Jiva Gopalakam Krishna Kirtana Ganana Tana Param Premamritam Banidhi Sri Chaitanya Kripa Bharau Bhuvi Bhuva Bharavahantarakam Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujagam Sri Jiva Gopalakam Sri Gauranga Gunanubandana Vidhau Sadhyasamidharnitam Papatrapanikantana Tanabhitam Govinda Gana Amritayi Sri Gauranga Gunanubandana Vidhau Sadhyasamidharnitam Papatrapanikantana Tanabhitam Govindaganamritayi Anandambudivardhanayi Kanipunam Kaivallaniswarakam Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujagam Srijeva Gopalakam Krishna Kirtana तत्त्वातो नमसे समण्डलपति शनिं सदा तुच्छव भूत्वा दीनगणेशकरुणया कोऽपि न कण्ठाश्रितम् तत्त्वातो नमसे समण्डलपति शनिं सदा तुच्छव भूत्वा दीनगणेशकरुणया कोऽपि न कण्ठाश्रितम् कोऽपि भावरसामृताखिलहरि कल्लोलमग्नो वन्दे रूपसनातनं